Okay, give me a quick second. Thank you for your patience, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem.
And we can get this cracking. Okay, here we go. NFL preseason. Play the intro. Yes, thanks for joining us. Jansen Harris here with the final play on the Jessica Network. We're presented by Stocks and also the GGC Game Room. Joining me, E on the mic. Look, this guy, he's phenomenal. Go check out his TikToks. Literally the hardest working guy on TikTok. He's very creative. He loves his Dolphins, and he's one of the more knowledgeable people out here. What's up, man?
What's going on, Jansen? Second time on the show now. Second time. One time the audio. This time around, we're on camera this time. So, hey, they can see my face now this time.
Yeah, man, they can see it. E on the mic behind you. I didn't even have to introduce you in today.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. I'm glad I'm on this show, get to see me face to face for the first time, talking some Finns, man. Let's get it. Let's get it, man.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your quarterback real quick, man. Tua, what's your review on him so far in the preseason? What are some of the things that you like about what Tua has to offer coming into this year? The growth from last year to this year so far in the preseason.
I think so far with Tua, he's been really improved from last season to this year. But of course, everyone knows it's preseason. Yes, the Falcons didn't have their starting defense. Yes, but he's driving down the field, gaining those connections, especially with Waddle. Waddle connections. You saw that earlier in that preseason game against the Falcons, gain a nice connection, and then to Jizeki. Those are going to be probably the two top players he's probably going to be targeting this year. I feel generally to me, of course, obviously Fuller and Parker are out right now with injuries, but I just really see the connection with those two players. And Tua, although he did throw an interception, and yes, I heard about Tua turning the low over. Yes, I heard about all that. But let's be honest, like without that one, he played phenomenal, which I was like, this is definitely much improved. It shows he actually can mobilize now because last year he couldn't really mobilize. You kind of saw that game against Arizona, for example, where you try to mobilize, but it was kind of a little stiff a little bit for Tua. But this year he's more mobilized this year. So let's see where can Tua lead us to. I personally believe he will have a phenomenal year because one, has a lot of good wide receivers and has a great tight end. Now, the only thing I'll probably push him back is probably the offensive line because our offensive line really struggles at times, especially a couple of players that some of them can be good against the run, but they're bad in the pass, or they're good with the passing block protection and they can't do the run. So it's just really determining on the offensive line and Tua not making a lot of mistakes from last season. That's the only difference I will say for Tua. But Tua overall, I think he should have a great year for Miami.
Great breakdown, E. Look, quarterbacks are always judged sometimes harshly from a national view and from what everybody was saying. Let me not say everybody. From what a lot of people were saying and national media, however you want to put it, Tua was criticized a lot. What's the feel like in Miami? Is the feel like, okay, people are overreacting to maybe some of Tua's struggles last year because he's so young? Or was it the feel of, well, maybe there's some truth to maybe Tua isn't that good? How do you feel about it? You think a lot of it was nonsense and too premature?
I think where everyone has the narrative is especially when he got benched in that Denver game, for example, and that Raiders game, especially he got benched twice in those games, which that shows a frown to everybody, especially got replaced by Fitzpatrick. And some people were saying Fitzpatrick should have stayed as a quarterback until you started struggling, which I agree with that now. But at the time, I was like, oh, let's put Tua in there because Fitzpatrick had a nice game in the Jets. Eventually, he was going to deteriorate because that's Fitzmagic for you. So let's put Tua in there. And, of course, Tua played against the Rams that day. But he did struggle. I mean, I personally didn't want him there, especially it was coming off a huge injury in Alabama. We did draft him. I didn't really expect him to come in the game, but he did. He had some great, phenomenal plays there. But I just feel like it's overreaction sometimes because, one, he's a rookie. I understand that he had some mistakes there, but he has some great throws, tight windows, which he's starting to do that more often than not now. Just throwing tight windows, Tua just having phenomenal there. Now the only question with that is he the real deal? That's the main question. That's where everyone's question is. Some people are like, we should have got Justin Herbert last year. Why did we were thinking about Tua? We should have got Herbert instead, because Herbert right now is doing phenomenal with the Chargers as of right now with that type of offense with Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, for example. But then when you look at Tua, he didn't have any wide receivers. If you look back at after in the Kansas City Chiefs game, who were the wide receivers there? Malcolm Perry. Yeah, Gesicki, who then got hurt again, and then it's like, what other wide receivers can you name there? Mac Hollins, for example. We didn't have a lot of weapons there as well. I mean, we still had Myles Gaskin, but that was probably the only weapon we really had that was going to really consist of efficiency.
Before we move on to Myles Gaskin, we're going to talk about him in a second. Do you feel like Tua has to be great for you guys to get to the playoffs? Or do you think he just needs to manage the game well, make some plays here or there, and just not turn the ball over so much? Or do you feel like he needs to be that superstar quarterback?
I don't think he needs to be a superstar, but he just really needs to turn over the ball less and actually score touchdowns instead of field goals. Because you can look back at the Chiefs game, for example. We got 4 interceptions by Mahomes, and we only scored 3 points out of those 4 turnovers. That's just kind of alarming to me a little bit, especially we need to score points, especially this Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes will punch you to the mouth with that as well. So our defense is great, but Tua needs to get it done for us. I know it's the second year. Everyone's saying it's the second year, but the pressure's really on, especially he has the weapons around this time around. He has weapons this time. So it's really the pressure on Tua right now, even though he's a second-year quarterback, which is kind of harsh for the second-year quarterback. But nowadays, the NFL is kind of
exactly.
If you're the real deal, if you're the deal, you should do it in your second year. If not, oh well, we'll just kick you to the curb and maybe you go do somewhere else better.
I agree with you, man. It's and look, we don't know what Joe Burrow is going to look like. What even Herbert's going to look like this year. Some people think he's a top 10 quarterback. We don't know what these guys are going to look at. Let's move on to Myles Gaskin, your running back, and tell me what you expect from him this year and all the running backs as collective. Like, how do you see them being used in this offense?
I see a mixture of Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, maybe even Sullivan, and knowing how well those players work together, especially Malcolm Brown coming from the Rams, Sullivan coming from a draft pick that we got from Washington a year ago, which he'd play against the run pretty good, especially when Gaskin was out with COVID-19. But I think Gaskin really gives a good point of view, especially from the pass games, especially you saw the Falcons game, those screen passes. Those screen passes are effective, and it shows. And it shows from that preseason game. Of course, I understand their first starter defense for the Falcons, but Gaskin looks to be dangerous. Now, do I see him a breakout year? I don't think so because of our offensive line. I see he can probably break out in the passing game, yes. But in the run game, I don't know. I really need to convince myself with the O-line right now, because that's the O-line is really our barrier right now of holding us back. Same thing with probably with Tua, but Gaskin, he'll get you some yards. He's shown some explosive yards coming out the outside. He's more comfortable coming out the outside. He gets a great 10 to 15 yards right there, a good gain. Going up the middle, he can get somewhat there, but up the middle right now, our running block right now is not as great as I would like to see us, which is probably our main problem, especially addressing next year, of course. But for Gaskin as of right now, I can see him having a good year, but not like a breakout year where some people have said he could be a breakout year. I don't see it a little bit. Maybe the passing game, but other than that, no.
Look, I'm not a huge Dolphins guy, but I like Gaskin. I loved him in college. I thought big play guy, consistent, loved his work ethic. So hoping for the best for him. I'm glad he's your feature back. And I kind of agree with the fantasy guys when it comes to that. Not big on fantasy football, but I kind of believe that Gaskin should have a good year. I'm kind of high on this Dolphins team, to be real with you. I think you got the Bills, and I think the Dolphins could be in second place. And then the Patriots, Jets. So I definitely could see the Dolphins as a playoff team. I definitely, even if Tua isn't great. Now, you mentioned Jalen Waddle. You said that Tua didn't have great weapons last year. Why do you think this is going to be such a great connection with Tua and Jalen Waddle?
Well, you got to remember the Alabama days, how those connections was with Tua as a starting quarterback and Jalen Waddle as the wide receiver for Alabama. Those two when Tua throws it a while, that man's off to the races to the house from the slant and going 90 yards, 70 yards, 60 yards. You've seen it. And you've seen Jalen Waddle with the punt returns as well. He's dangerous in the punt returns. Let me just add that before kind of going a little bit off there. But I see those connections, especially, and they were talking about the connections, how Tua and Waddle are really connecting in practice, and then it really showed in that Falcons game as well. They're just really connecting right there, getting good 5 yards, 10 yards, him coming from the jet stream, getting 10 to 15 yards right there. And I can see a lot of plays coming out with Tua and Jalen Waddle, especially. They already know each other. They know what plays will make them succeed to the next level to get to the touchdown, to win games. So I can see this connection really good. The question is, will he be our future number one? We shall see, but I really think he could be a number one, especially with Parker right now. Injuries. Will Fuller sign with 1 year. We may or may not re-sign after this year, depending on how well he will play this year. Preston Williams injured. You still got a lot of other players, so who knows? Wolf will probably be our number one wide receiver in the future. I can really see that.
Yes, I'm here. Jansen Harris here with the final play on the Just Good Network. Joining me is E on the mic, giving a great breakdown. Follow this man on TikTok. I promise you he's the hardest working man on TikTok. He got something different every day, and that's what I appreciate about him the most. Had to get him back on. And he knows the Dolphins like no other. He knows what he's talking about. I had to bring him on to talk about
I'm a diehard fan, but I'm real with them. I'll tell you that. I'm a diehard fan, but I'm a realist to it. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Again, we're presented by Ya Socks and also the Level 1 Game Room. How good is Xavier Howard? I mean, 10 interceptions last year. I believe it was 5. Was it 5 or 7 the year before that? But he's a ball hawk, man. He's a ball hawk. How good is he? Is he the best corner in football?
Well, we ain't gonna go that far, but he's a top 5. I'll give you that. I'll give him like a top 5 right up there at corners as of right now. We ain't going that far up. I think right now that's Ramsey as of right now. But the X factor is as I call him. I know X factor will probably think of Des Bryant, but I call him the X factor because Xavier Howard, because he can shut you down, especially those 10 interceptions. And that man's a beast, especially coming out of Baylor. That was a great draft pick that we got, especially during the Gase era. I feel that was actually the Gase era that actually drafted Howard. So at least Gase got something right there, other than trashing us. But anyways, Howard really, he's a ball hog. He'll definitely defend great wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill. You've seen it happening. He defends well. Of course, there will be some plays who get beat at sometimes, but he can really defend us, and it really shows how much of a difference he is from Howard and then our other corners, because that one time he was holding out, we kind of trying to test the other corners. They were struggling. It's like, yeah, we definitely need Howard back. And he was just ranked top 17 on the NFL top 100 this past weekend. So, which is very interesting. I thought he was going to be a top like 20 something. But anyways, Howard is the real deal. And he's the only, I think right now is a superstar right now on our team, the greatest.
And that's one thing I appreciate about Howard. And I appreciate that he brought that back with quarterback play. Look, when you have an opportunity to pick the ball off, do it. And that's what's great about Howard, man. And look, not a Dolphins guy, but I go back and I watch the tape. Howard was amazing with those interceptions. And he's not one of those guys where he almost picked it. He'll go out there and get it. He changed his field position with those interceptions and what he's able to do. So, yes, that 17th ranking, I think, is valid. E, you're right about that. Okay. Do you see maybe him moving into – what does he have to do to move into that debate of being the best corner, though? What does he have to do?
Really keep doing what he's doing right now, being the lockdown corner that he's willing to be, dude. Especially Ramsey, he locks down corners. If you look at Ramsey, he really locks down corners. Especially he's going to face off against Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's not going to get a lot of catches, especially against Ramsey and that Rams defense, for example. Let's say, so Xavier Howard really needs to lock down wide receivers. Show everybody why he's the number one corner of the game. If he really wants to be the number one corner of the game. If he really wants to try to compete with Jair Alexander and Jalen Ramsey to be that top guy, he needs to show that again this year and prove why he deserves to be number one and why he really deserves that top 17 on the top 100 there as well.
Man, great breakdown. And what I like about you the most, again, like you said previously, you're a realist. You're not one of those fanboys who's just, oh, man, every player on my team is the best guy in the world. So I do appreciate that about you, man. Look, Tell me about a defender on Miami that the national media isn't talking about, but you expect to have a great season.
I'm not gonna butcher his last name wrong so bad, but the linebacker the other day, Sam Igavani. I probably said it wrong, but he's a great linebacker, especially coming from the Canadian Football League. I know, yes, on Saturday he got 11 tackles, 4 sacks, and 1 safety.
Wow.
And he really showed that last year too. I think everyone wasn't mentioning him too much, but before he got injured, but he's a monster, especially coming on the linebacker position. Can really hitch the running back right up to the line. He had some couple of good plays last year. It was like, damn, like one of those type of moments especially against the Rams under Henderson. That one play, he really smacked them really good, which I really expect him. Especially, no one really mentions him too much in the media. I don't think no one knows him as well as I know how he is, especially with the Dolphins. But he's a dangerous linebacker, and I think he could be a sneaky guy that can actually improve, maybe even get a Pro Bowler. If he plays like how he did on Saturday, he can be a Pro Bowler. No problem. Especially the linebacker core that we have. We have Jerome Baker, Andrew Van Ginkel. I know Jalen Phillips is considered a linebacker is what they're saying there, although he could be an end as well. And then you still got the Brandon McKinney, that trade that we got from the Texans, which is that great group, especially if you have Sam there. Watch out. I think he could get a Pro Bowler this year. If he
Jalen
plays
Phillips.
how he is there.
I know I didn't produce this one. I'm sorry to cut you off. Jalen Phillips, have you liked what you've seen out of him so far in the preseason? Are you getting? Is he getting enough reps? Is he showing that upside that because we talked about that prior to preseason and stuff? Last conversation we had, and you thought he would do well. Is he living up to your expectations so far in the preseason?
I know he did get a couple of snaps from this past Saturday. He didn't play the first preseason game, but the second preseason, he did pretty good off the run. But on the pass rushing right now, he hasn't shown that yet of him as what we would like to expect. But he's good on the run, but we didn't draft him that high to stop the run. We drafted him that high to get that to pressure the quarterback right there. So I think he's just got to get adjusted to the NFL as right now. Of course, it's his first preseason game ever. And the first time getting his foot in the water, just kind of smelling the feel of the NFL. This is not the University of Miami, although he did play there at the Hard Rock Stadium, actually. But he just got to really adjust to the game, and I think he'll do fine. He'll do fine. But as of right now, he's what I've been hearing. He's been good on the run, but on the passing game, he's a little bit halfway there right now. But he'll work his way up going there, especially against Cincinnati.
Absolutely. Look, I like his size. I think he just, again, like you said, needs to get those jitters out of the way. But I think he's going to be a pretty productive pass rusher. I love what I saw at him out of Miami. I thought he got upfield. I thought he showed a lot of toughness. I think he got great hips. But yeah, Cincinnati, way to bring that up. I thought they should have went O-line in the first round. But that's a different discussion.
You're right.
On the mic is with me, the final play on the Just Good Network. We're talking NFL preseason. E is my favorite part of it. Give me your top 5 quarterbacks before we get out of here. Starting with number 5, working your way up to number 1.
All right, so this is like a debate that everybody, no matter what you say on number 5, they either say you're good in this one or you're the most idiotic person that you ever met in your life.
Absolutely.
For me, at number 5, I have Josh Allen. At 5, Josh Allen over Jackson, right there. The only reason why I have Josh Allen over Jackson right now, Allen has been producing. He had a better season last year than Jackson because Jackson had a sluggish year. He was coming off MVP season the other previous year, but he kind of came out sluggish and wasn't connecting his wide receiver. But Josh Allen was having a phenomenal season, and especially the addition with Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and there a lot of connection there. And you could have won the MVP other than Aaron Rodgers won the MVP. That's what everybody's saying. But as of right now, I have Josh Allen at number 5 as of right now.
Okay. We got 4.
4. Now, this quarterback might not play this year because, of course, the allegations he's dealing with right now down in Houston. And I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson last year, although had not a great team, was phenomenal on the field. He still managed to get points on the board, especially connecting to Will Fuller, especially in that Thanksgiving game. Oh, my God. If you had them in fantasy, you must be feasting on that turkey that day, especially. But Deshaun Watson is a phenomenal quarterback, although he's dealing with his allegations right now, which right now he's in the 4th depth chart right there. So I don't know if he's ever going to be playing this year or not. Now, this is like me if he was playing this year. But as of right now, I have Deshaun Watson at number 4.
Okay. Well, who do you have at 3, man? Who's your 3?
3. This one is going to be Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, I think he's better than Watson overall as of right now. As of right now, we're talking about. I think Russell Wilson, he was going on to an MVP season had he not faced against the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills really deteriorated him as that quarterback and actually brought him back down to earth. But he always brings that MVP type of caliber guy, especially in the beginning of the season. If you notice, every year he looks like he's about to get the MVP. This time around, he's gonna get the MVP. This time, and it kind of goes down. But I have him 3 over Watson. Phenomenal quarterback, especially without a great O-line over there in Seattle, which I was hoping they were going to get an O-line during the draft, but they kind of disappointed me. Just get another wide receiver in there. Just kind of, I mean, he got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but I understand that point because they need a third option. But that's the reason I have Russell Wilson there at 3 over Watson.
Okay. I'm interested to see this top 2.
So you want me to go with number 2 now, right?
I think I know who you're leaving off this list, but we're going to talk about that after. I don't want to interrupt you, but I think I have to ask you why you're leaving him off the list when we get there. Who's your number 2?
For number 2, I got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers at number 2. Listen, coming off an MVP caliber year, thank God I actually went for him as MVP. I call this let's see, Rodgers MVP, especially the motivation of Jordan Love draft. He was going to be an MVP caliber quarterback. And he was phenomenal. He was connecting with wide receivers to this tight end Tunyon, Devontae as usual, and of course the other wide receivers that some people may not know, Alan Lazar, Marcus Valdez, for example, getting into the 13-3, getting to the NFC Championship, and now of course falling short just by inches, especially when Aaron Rodgers said, "This is my town. I want it to be here," and he loses to Tom Brady. Not the point, but Aaron Rodgers, phenomenal quarterback, especially that MVP season. You got to go on number 2.
Okay. And number 1.
Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Patty Mahomes. Phenomenal quarterback. This man, he'll make you any day, he'll just give you a real highlight. It's like, damn, how the hell you got that throw? Especially his last game in the Super Bowl, especially how he almost got sacked and he somehow managed to throw it. And that could have been caught for a touchdown. I was like, damn, this man's phenomenal. This man like a living Madden character. I swear to God, like he's a living Madden character. I'm not gonna lie, Jansen. Like you cannot stop this man at times, especially a great O-line, has great wide receiver weapons there. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, especially now people are kind of like pushing him aside, especially he didn't produce as well last year. You might be finding some snaps on the running back position, but Mahomes is great on the run and the pass. He's phenomenal. Next thing you know, you think you can win the game, and then all of a sudden this man comes with a comeback, and you're like, damn, we lost by this close. That's why I got Mahomes at number 1. And I know that because that's how salty I was with that Dolphins and Chiefs when they did the exact same thing with Tyreek Hill and the playoffs too in the Browns, if you really noticed that. Just bad out there.
Absolutely, man. Look, E on the mic. I love your top 5 list. Hear mine out real quick before we get going.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna mention somebody, but let me hear.
Yo, I'm gonna ask you after I get my list. I'm gonna ask you why that man isn't on your list. But number 5, I have Josh Allen.
Okay.
Josh Allen, clearly he was great last year. Before the year, he was one of my guys who I thought could take the next step, and he absolutely did that. So I got him at number 5. Russell Wilson at number 4. In the beginning, it looked like it. You saw everybody talking about it. Russell Wilson MVP. He was playing great. He was the clutchest player in the game. That's why I have him at number 4. Number 3, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, and I'm going to ask you about Tom Brady. That's the guy. Tom Brady coming off the Super Bowl, what he was able to do at the end of the game, and I'm talking playoff-wise. Playoffs against Green Bay, closing that game out. Playoff-wise, getting his whole team ready. Because, yes, they had a good defense. Yes, some guys on that defense overachieved and played well. But I think that quarterback, when he shows that leadership, which you saw what Tom Brady did, I think it's the Brady effect. I really do think sometimes that quarterback, the team takes the personality of the quarterback. And I think that's what happened with Tom Brady. So I have Tom Brady at number 3. Number 2, and in a way I want to say, but this is going into this year, I wanted to put him at number 1, but because of all the drama in Green Bay, and it's going to be tough to just match that year he had last season. It's really going to be tough, even for them to get back to the NFC Championship game, even though I know Aaron Rodgers, he really wants another championship. But he's number 2. I can't give him the top spot. And Patrick Mahomes, I think despite of that game last year and him feeling embarrassed in this Chiefs team, I think this Chiefs team regroups. And they're going to need him to regroup because this AFC is no cakewalk. It's no cakewalk. You see what the Titans are doing. Throw the Dolphins in there. Throw Buffalo in there. Maybe the Dolphins aren't a Super Bowl contender, but you get the point. I think they could contend for a
Right.
playoff spot. There's a lot of teams there. Even the Colts, you have to throw the Colts out there. If Carson Wentz is healthy and he plays as well as half the media thinks he's going to play or half the fan base thinks, because he has a great defense, great offensive line, and he has weapons. So they're going to need that top Patrick Mahomes. And I think they're going to get it next season. And I think he's going to have that chip on his shoulder saying, hey, I want my second ring. Hey, last year's game, even though a lot of it was on the offensive line, he's going to regroup and he's going to put that on his shoulder and say, let's all get better as a team and be that leader and keep developing as a young man. But I have to ask you, E, that's my top 5, by the way. Have to ask you, why is Tom Brady not on your top 5 list? Do you feel like he's going to fall off this year or what's – I'm just wondering the logic behind that just for the viewers.
I think more. I understand like where you're coming from over there, which is all time. Okay, yes, everyone will agree. Whoever doesn't disagrees with that point, then they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. If they just say Tom Brady is not the greatest of all time, let's be real. Of course, he's the greatest of all time. Now, of course, we're talking about now. We're talking about like now coming into the season. Yes, he did get the Super Bowl. How many players did he have how many weapons did he have that really helped him succeed to that ring? We got Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Evans. Let's think about Gronkowski. A lot of players. A lot of great players. Fournette, for example, another great player there. Probably missing a couple of players there, but you get the point. How many players, especially when he was looking for that in New England. Because New England at one point didn't have no wide receivers to throw at, especially after coming in from that season and then going to the Tampa. Now, if you're talking about top 5, I don't know. I don't think so. I have him like at 8 right now. If I'm being honest with you, Jensen, that's where I have him, like a little bit down there. I can even put Dak a little bit above Tom Brady as of right now. I know it's kind of crazy to say that, but I mean, I'm not saying he's like below top 10. That's ridiculous. You know, that would be like, okay, yeah, you're tripping. But for real though, like I don't see him at top 5 because, of course, one, his age. He's 44, probably going to get to 45, which is remarkable how he's still in the NFL. Because if you're getting those hits, I don't know how many years he's going to have left, especially. But he has a great offensive line, so that really helps him still be that quarterback to be in the top 10 category with Tom Brady. But I just don't see it in top 5. I know he won a Super Bowl. I know everyone will point to that. He won a Super Bowl. He got a ring. Yes, you got a ring. But you can't. You got to look at stats wise. I'm going to say that because I struggle saying that word. But stats wise, there about Tom Brady, to the other quarterbacks, it doesn't look the same as looking at the other quarterbacks as of right now that are currently better than him as of right now. Because of course his aging, he's kind of a little bit aging right now, but it doesn't show as much. But he's a little bit aging as we speak. So he's not like that top 5 like he was probably like 10 years ago. He probably be considered. Yeah, you wouldn't argue with that at all.
Absolutely. Jansen Harris here with the final play on the Just Good Network. Joining me was E the Mike. Thank you for coming on the show. Again, we're presented by Ya Sox and the Level 1 Game Room. Guys, go follow E on the mic, Twitter, Instagram, especially on TikTok. He will entertain you. He's one of the best in the game at that. And again, he is a realistic Dolphins analyst and fan. Appreciate you for coming on, man.
No problem, Jensen. As always. Also, check the YouTube out. I have some live streams going on during the week also, so stay tuned for that as well. Just want to put that out there as well.
Appreciate you, man. We got to do this again. Real talk.
We'll do it, Jensen. We'll do it again.